to today's class in Mesilas Yesharim. Today we are continuing in our discussion about how to be careful with our practice, and we're going to talk about these things that detract from that or distract from that. So it's called the mafside zahirus in Hebrew, the things that reduce our carefulness, okay, or what we're supposed to be watchful for, and we're supposed to stay away from them. So here we go. The things that keep us away from being watchful. So we got three things to watch out for if we're trying to watch out for what we're doing. It's kind of an interesting way to name the chapter, right? What to watch out for when you're trying to watch out for stuff. So the first thing is the engagement with things that are considered this worldly, okay? Sort of like universal stuff. Hasheni haschuk v'halatzon. The second thing is frivolousness and levity, is how you would call that, latzon. For example, leitzan in modern Hebrew is a clown. Hashlishi hachevra hara'a. And the third thing is evil company, okay? We're going to go through each one of these things. So if you're busy focusing on those things that are very, very much have a lot of involvement in them, we've talked about that in the previous chapter. So if you are overly distracted or engaged with the preoccupation of this world, all of your thoughts are going to be on those things, and probably even about prohibited things that are things that will keep you burdened with the things that are in this world. Actually, he said what he's actually saying is you are actually your thoughts are chained with the they're chained with the links of the burden of those things upon it. So meaning that it's almost like you are chained to things in this world, okay, and you can't think about how to change your actions. So our rabbis of blessed memory said in the 4th chapter of Avos, in the 10th Mishnah there, they said, don't do so much in this world and focus on learning Torah. Because getting involved means those are the things that are involved for taking care of yourself. But it's not that your involvement has to be so ingrained that it has such a large capacity that it doesn't allow you to do your own personal service. And therefore we have been taught to set times for Torah. And we have already made the point that a person has to be even more focused about this main part of becoming zahir, about becoming watchful and careful. Lo yagia lav klal v'huma sha'amru zchon livracha im lo am haaretz chasid. And so this is exactly the carefulness that Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair was warning us about, was that learning Torah is what makes you more careful. And without doing that, you're not going to achieve what we're trying to achieve over here. And that's why we say in Avos chapter 2, Mishnah 5, that person who is ignorant cannot be pious. Okay? V'zeh habore yisbarach shmo shebra yitzhara ba'adam hu shebra haTorah tavlin lo v'chmo she'amru zon livracha barasi yitzer hara barasi lo Torah tavlin. So that's why the Creator, blessed is He created these inclinations that incline you towards the worldly things, but He made a special seasoning to it, which is the Torah. And that's why the rabbis say in Kedushin in chapter 30, page 30, that the Torah it cures the Yetzer Hara. All right, curing meaning that it sort of it restrains it. Okay, it's like it like spices it to keep it to cure it. Is a better translation for it. Hine pashatu, shima bori lo bar lamakazu el refuazu. Yesher b'shum panim l'shirape ha'adam mizos hamaka bilti zos harafua umi sheyach shav lehinatzel zulasa eno ela toa the v'yira to uso l'vasov kishayamus w'chet o. And so therefore, that the Creator, when he did this, he had a very clear intent. It's pretty obvious that this was the restraint to this issue. This was, you have this issue, you have this curity for it, and so the person should not look to find a way of curing this illness without this cure. And someone who expects to be saved from it is making a grave mistake, and you'll see that at the end of your days that you've been drowning in sin all this time. Right? You've been focusing on the wrong things. Now, a person who thinks about what that inclination does in his own person, he'll see how strong it is and what it inclines him towards, and without him thinking about it, it's going to get stronger and it's going to take over all of his decision making. And if you're not going to take a look at just how incredibly powerful it is, and you're going to try to engage it at its strongest battle points, and you don't take the designated cure for these behaviors, like we've just stated, then you're not going to know, and you're not going to concern yourself with how strong this illness can rule over you, until you finally come to the end of your days and you've lost your soul itself. Like, what's this comparable to? Where you go to the doctor and you ask him, what should I do? And he prescribes you a certain cure, and you put that cure down and you leave it there, and then you figure out your own way to cure it, and what happens is you end up dying because you didn't take the prescribed medication. Ele boro shebrao, he's hiranu, sharafu lo hi haTorah. And so therefore, we have to be cognizant of the fact that God created a cure for the Yetzer Hara, which is to learn more Torah. And that's why he says and tells us to learn more Torah. Mi'efo yanicha v'yikach mashikach zasiv v'yichya v'ada shechoshech chamrius Yilach v'yigbar alav madrega achar madrega v'hu lo yavin ad sheyimatze shakua b'ra'a v'rachok kriya emes arachak gadol shafilo hirhure devarim lo yalu alibo levakesh emes. And it's going to be so bad that you're going to be so lost without taking this treatment, okay, that without it, you're not going to find a path to continue living. Instead, you're going to have the darkness of all of your earthen responsibilities is going to just overwhelm you. And it's going to just pile up level after level. And you're going to see that you become basically neck deep in wickedness and so far from the true place where you want to be. Shiviyehu el haderech hatov. Who mash amru zichron livracha. Halavai osi azvu v'surasi shamru shahama or sheba machaziran lemutav. And if you are engaged in Torah study, when you see its methods, when you understand its commands and what it's warning you about, at the end you're going to see a brand new level of appreciation and focus on doing those things that bring you to the good path. And that's why the rabbis say at the beginning of Eicha Rabasi, right, which is the book Eicha Lamentations. This is in section 2 over there. That were it that they forgot about me, God's saying this, and just kept the Torah, that would guide them from the bad to the good. והנה בכלל זה גם כן קביעות העיתים של אל חשבון המעשה וסיכונו כמו שכתבתי למעלה. And just like we mentioned, this is if we take an account, right? If we look at the way that the numbers stack up for how much time you're going in towards doing good deeds and fixing those deeds, you're going to see that that's a huge value. ובלבד כל זה מה שישיר לו פני בעסקיו, אם חכם הוא ודאי שלא יעבדהו, ואלא יאחז בו מיד ולא ירפהו, לעסוק בו בעסק נפשו וסיכון עבודתו. And once you consider all of this, what you're going to see is that the time that you feel that you are now free from all of the work that you're doing, if you understand this and are wise enough to take advantage of it, that you're not going to waste that time. You're going to seize it immediately, and you're going to try to bottle it up in order to save it up for the things that you want to improve in yourself, okay? And how you want to fix your own way in which you connect with God. וזה המפסיד, אף על פי שהוא היושר כללי, הנה הוא היושר קל למי שרוצה להימלט שימלט ממנו. And the truth is that this detriment, even though it seems to be such a broad and common one, it's also the easiest one to slip into and the most likely to be to collect all of your time away from you. So that's the first one. Hasheni, hirehu kashbo. The second one is a lot more difficult. This is the frivolousness and the joking. Okay, kimi. Right? You're like bouncing around in the middle of a giant sea, which you cannot get yourself off the shore, and you can't get yourself out of it. Because laughter is totally ridiculous, he says. Shekvar ein hatam v'hadeya moshelas bo. One second. Hare hu kshikur oshota asheri after laseis lahem agama olahan higam ki enam mekabelin hanhaga. And the problem is that when you are no longer taking stuff seriously, you're not going to follow the path that we set for you, because you're going to think everything can go however he wants to. You're not thinking using logic, okay? It's why it ruins your own person. That's something that drives you away from it. You can't focus on those things when you're busy trying to see the humor in it all, and you're going to act like you're a drunk or a crazy person who is incapable of actually fulfilling the tasks that are being placed before you. Right, so this is what Shlomo Melech says in Koheles. This is in chapter 2. Why do I find myself saying to laughter that you are something praiseworthy, and to joy, what am I supposed to do? Okay. And so the rabbi explained the following way in Avos. He says, Schok v'kalos rosh margilas anam le'erva. That laughter and flirting accustom a person to doing inappropriate things, right? Things that involve illicit and forbidden relationships. Okay, Eitzel kol ben das libo yirei mikrav elaha v'koach hatzior shekvar nitztayer v'sichlo ha'amitis goldel pishav rav anashah. הנה הצחוק והקלס ראש ממשיכים אותו מעט מעט ומקריבים אותו הלוך וקרוב, שתהיה היראה שרה מעליו מעט מעט madrega, achar madrega, ad shegia el ha'avon al ha'avon asmo v'yasehu. And so when we say that you're too busy being caught up in the laughter, the rabbis warned us against it by saying that they accustom us to do these wrong things, even though it's so very serious to be stuck in a prohibited relationship like that. Every person who has given any thought to this and he's afraid of what might come out of a lifestyle that looks like this would see that it's going to lead you to significant amount of bad deeds and a lot of punishments needed to help correct your behavior. And in your own estimation about the profits and losses of such behavior, you're going to see that when you take a look at the truth of the matter is that it is dragging you little by little and bring you closer with every little step, that you won't be concerned about violating certain things. And that's the biggest problem. Like, it accustoms you to doing these things. V'kol kach lama lefi shekemosha kol mitzius hazahiras talui b'simas halev al hadavar kain gam atzmo shel hasachok enu ela meisir halev min meha machshavos hayesharos v'ha'iyunos v'nimsa shelo yavo hirhure hayirab libo klal. So why does it drag you away so far? Because the main thing about being a zahir, being watchful and careful, is about taking note and putting your full attention onto things. So when you're busy laughing and giggling and all these other things, it takes the heart away from thought. It looks at something that seems a bit ridiculous, right? It's not looking at things the way they should be, the way they should behave. It's looking at things the way they don't behave. And there, if you're focusing on those things, you're not paying that much attention to the whole overall process. Tira koshi halatzon v'hashchasaso harbe. Kikamo hamagid hamashuach v'shemen asher yashmit v'yapil me'al hachitzim u'mashlicham la'aretz lo yiniach osam shegia el gufa adam ki halatzon mifnei hatochacha v'hamardus ki b'leitzanus echad v'schok katan yapil ha'adam me'alav riboy godol min ha'his orerus v'ha'his pa'alus masha ha'lev misorer mispal ba'asmo midei ra'oso o shamo inyanim sheyiruhu el ha'cheshbon v'ha'pishpush b'masim. So what you're going to see over here is that the destructive behavior of being frivolous, okay, it's just like if you were to take oil and pour it over a shield, everything would slide off of it. Okay, even the arrows would just bounce and slide off, and that's what happens when you don't take time to focus on what's really important. And because all these silliness that you're getting involved in throws a person down, and as far down as you possibly could go, and takes you away from all the important activity in your brain and the activities of your body, what the heart is looking to awaken inside of you and encourage you to go perform. Okay? And so that's why you have to force yourself into taking account in things, and also to really investigate your deeds. מכוח הליצונוס יפיל הכל לארץ ולא יעשה בו לראשם כלל ולא מפני חלשת העניינים ולא מפני חסרון הבנת הלב אלא מפני כוח הליצון ההורס כל עיני המוסר והיראה. Because it's not that levity is so destructive on its own, and it's not because it makes light of the things you're doing. What it does instead is that it basically puts out that sort of that fire in your belly that is lit by what your heart wants. And the strength of it is that it kind of tramples it, and all those things with which we would focus our time and energy to be more focused on improving our intelligence and our commitment, those things are going by the wayside with being levitus. Navi Yeshaya hayatzaveach al zeh kakruchia. Ki haya ro'eh shezeh haya mashlo haya maniach makom l'socha chosav Shiyasu Roshem V'Hayam Abed Tikvasam Shel HaChotim. V'Hu Abar Ata Altis Azazu Penyach Zugu Mosrechem. He says, and the prophet Yeshaya warned us about this. He was saying that he even screamed this out like the crane from the rooftops. That there was no room to not tell people and warn them about things that you're not taking them seriously. It ruins your hope of becoming a better person. Okay, it's gonna whatever you thought it might be, it's gonna get ruined by this. And he says in the following way. He says, do not mock things, because that might strengthen your bounds, the chains we mentioned earlier. Okay? Kvar gazru omer chachamim zichron livracha shehaleitz mevi hayisromer lavahu ma shehakasuv asma mevar beferush nichono latzanim laleitzim shefatim ki zehu davar shehadin no say no so ki mi hamispael min ha-hisbonenus min ha-lamudim inu tzarech sheyisyasir begufo ki chafar yashuv mechataso belize mikoach hirhure teshuva sheyivaldu belibo bilvavo al yidei ma sheyikra o sheyishma min ha-musarim ha-tochachos. And this is what the rabbis were warning about in the Gemaras, and this is in Avodah Zarah 18b, that the judgments are prepared for the people who are the least serious, the most frivolous. And that echoes the statement in Mishlei in Proverbs in chapter 19, verse 29, excuse me. So that's why we have punishments, is to remove the frivolousness. And this is the thing that judgment does. Okay? That the actions that you're going to think about and you're supposed to learn about, okay, that you've become accustomed to doing, it doesn't gain anything by inflicting itself with problems. So meaning that the only way you're going to learn to do better is by having these things afflict you to bring you back to the right path. You're not going to learn from it because you're going to be so busy thinking about nothingness. It's not going to bring you any value to any of these things. Okay, achalesim she'einam mispalim min hatochachos mipnei koach chalitsanusam ein lehem tikun ela hashfatim she'ele lo yeh koach chalitsanusam lidchosam me'aleihem gasher yidcha musarim. So people who are constantly clowning around, they are not going to be able to pull themselves out of that activity of just constantly relying on silliness. The only way to improve that would be to give them different rules to help them improve their behavior, like judging them and their activities, and they'd have to improve them. And that's the only way they are not going to push away any rebuke that they received. Okay, and we already said this earlier by the prophet Isaiah, that by mocking things and making it seem it's not fair, that Hashem, as a true judge, He increases all of these experiences of significant discomfort, but it's only to make things better for you. So that's really the biggest problem, is that you don't experience these things and you don't get any better. Okay, and so that's the second one. So the third one over here now is now the Mafsid Shlishi. This is Chavras Hatipshim v'Hachotim, bad friends. Right? It says in Mishlei in chapter 13, verse 20, if you follow fools, it's going to ruin things for you. Right? It's going to break you. And we already said this The problem is that even if you make all these improvements yourself, if you hang out with the wrong folk, then all of these things that you believe are incumbent upon you to improve your behavior and to be careful with it is going to become weakened, and you're going to violate any of these patterns that you've created for yourself, so that way friends don't make fun of you, and you can still stay with them. Okay? And this is actually in when we study people's cycle. I'm saying this is now meta commenting over here. When we study people's cycle of commitment to different patterns of change, they also have to change the people they're around. If they don't find people who are supportive of their decisions, they're going to relapse all the time. So that's why Shlomo HaMelech continues in the proverb there by saying that do not go with those who are constantly flipping things upside down. And that's why the Gemara says in Ksubis, Yud Zayin, Le'olam tehidato shel adam mu'oreves im habrios. Find people with whom it is pleasant to be with. Af ata emor lo, ba'med devar memurim, b'vnei adam she'osid ma'isa adam. Ach lo b'vnei adam she'osid ma'isa resha, ma'isa behema. But you shouldn't be around people you should be around people who conduct themselves like upright people, and not like people who conduct themselves like upright animals. Ushlomo Mazhir Ode, and he says further, but this is actually in an earlier chapter, in chapter 14, Lech menegel ish kasil, right? Walk away from the fools. David Melech Amar, and King David also say, Asher ha'ish asher al holach v'tzas Yesharim u'v'derech Yesharim lo amad. Stay away from those people who do the wrong stuff. Kvar perishus ron ivracha, im holech sof l'amod, im omed sof l'ashev, v'omer lo yashavti im mesei v'shav, s'nesik kahal mereim v'gomer. And that's why the rabbis warned us in the Gemara Avodah Zarah and Yod Ches, don't be around those places, because if you walk, you'll sit. If you'll sit, you'll stand. If you stand, you'll be around them all the time. Don't do that. Elo adam elahi tahar lenakos aso limno raglav midarche hamon hashakuim behevel hazaman v'yashiv ragav el chatzros Hashem vel mishkanosav v'hu shadavid atzmo meisev Messiah v'omer erchas b'nikayin kape v'asova es mizbachach Hashem. And so a person has no other choice other than to purify himself and to wash away all of these bad behaviors from people with which they conduct themselves, and to say, I'm going to wash my hands of them, and I'm going to surround myself with the altar of God, okay, or walk around the altar of God. Yakshu bedato ki lule haya lola harviach mamon harbe. Haya maniach masha haya tzarich lazem mipnei chaverav shelo yil'ago kolshkin shelo yirsela abed nishmas mipnei la'ag. And what you're going to find is this is the biggest problem being around these people, is that if you're going to be around people who are going to make fun of you, you shouldn't take you shouldn't take their behavior seriously. In fact, what you should do is make fun of them. You should be better. You should be doing this. You're the funny guy. Things you do look weird. Okay? And you should take this into account when you're thinking about it, because if they were able to make a lot of money doing something, they would do everything they could to do a certain thing in order to make a lot of money, especially if the whole group of friends is trying to do that. And when they make fun of people who don't try to do that, so that's what this is talking about here too, is don't try to destroy yourself in order to avoid being mocked or made fun of. Al derech says here is Zichron Livracha, Have Az Kanamer, right? We say this every single morning. We're told every single morning. This is from Avos chapter 5, right? It said, be strong like the leopard, okay? For what Hashem wants you to do. David Amar, I will speak about your laws, God, and I will not be embarrassed. Sha'afal pish rov hamalachim iskam v'diburam b'divrei gedolos v'hanaos v'David shahaya lo gam kein melech lichora tiya lo lecherpa im biyoso b'chevra sam yiyeh hu medaber b'divrei musar v'torah. So even though most kings, meaning that when King David was king, he would surround himself with other kings, it would have been trying to talk about all the great things they accomplished and all the amazing things they enjoyed. And David Melech, what was he doing? He was trying to say, here I am a king, and all I'm trying to do is focus on being around people who are going to only follow Torah correctly. Tachas sipro min hagdolos of adam kamohem. Away from all of the enjoyments of the world that other people are trying to talk about. King David didn't worry about all these things because he already understood what the truth was. That's why he's saying, I'm going to speak about your true statements, God, and I will not be embarrassed to discuss them. Yeshaya, Kamochin Amar, and the prophet Isaiah says the same thing as well. Al Kain Samti Panai Kachalamish Ve'eda Kilo Evosh. That I have set my face like stone or like flint. It really it's like it's a softer stone, but it still is hard. And I will learn not to be embarrassed. So that is how we get to protecting ourselves from staying away from all these things, is to stay away from being mockery, bad friends, and most important, to constantly be learning Torah. When you keep those things in mind, you will always be successful in your avodah. We will pick up next time in how to be more zealous, that put more energy into our behaviors. Until next time.